Hey everyone, this morning I am taking steps for Kevin Thomas Morgan. Kevin, you're wearing a very different outfit than normal this morning. Last week you were in your robe, and this week you're in a gown. What's
Want me to
going
turn?
on?
So I stand up and turn around.
Yeah, I think you already did before the show. I think we already saw your sunshine. Look at that. I even got a smile out of you this morning. I got your newsletter overnight. Do you want to fill us in?
Oh, very briefly, yeah. I think the main lesson from this is, or the main lessons. Number one, if you have PAD, you have a risk of cardiovascular issues. And I've been waiting for this for a long time. I expected it because I have severe atherosclerosis. That's my PAD. And then I started getting heart symptoms of shortage of breath about 2 months ago. It was very minor. Got confused by a tooth problem, which was removed. And it became clear that I was heading for a heart attack. And I went out to the car, walked about 100 yards, 100 feet. And I felt this pressure on my chest. So I'm like, okay, called a friend. She picked me up, took me straight to the ER. And that's a really good thing I did. And so they got me in and ran more EKGs and stuff like that. So I already had one from my own PCP 4 days before. She referred me out to a cardiologist who hadn't yet called me back after 4 days, or else that would have been dealt with. But I think that was because of the storm. And they got me in, and with many, many tests and many, many bloodlettings, uh, my surgery for heart bypass surgery is on Monday, where they will use, I believe, my saphenous vein
Mhm.
and my mammary artery to go around those coronary arteries that are blocked. My Based on my training and consistent exercise, we're always talking about how we can grow collaterals in our heart as well as in our legs when we walk or when we exercise for fighting PAD. Well, my case proves it because it turns out that my right heart, smaller part of the heart, there's blood to your lungs, is now supplied with blood completely from collaterals because the coronary artery that supplies my right heart is 100% blocked to the point they couldn't even get a stent in it. And so you grow collaterals in your heart, obviously. I also have them in the left heart, but that's the one that's been struggling a bit. A little bit of release of the protein called troponin, which tells you there's damage to heart muscle. And that now is fading as I'm not doing any exercise. I'm sitting in the hospital. They got me on a, they put me on a heparin drip for a while. That stopped for a little while now. The surgery's Monday, and they're keeping an eye on me, and I am being very careful because I want to get back to Ironman training, which will take quite a while. And so the risk of heart disease, if you have PAD, is real. And if you have any doubts whatsoever about cardiac function, I strongly recommend you get it checked out. So that's the message from that. The risk of
So
death. Yep.
my dad had the right. His first sign of him almost being on the heart attack was exactly the same thing you said, was shortness of breath, which he wanted to blame on everything else. Same thing with my mom. It was interesting. Her shortness of breath, it turns out her aortic dissection, um, which they missed, right? But the with my dad, he literally got to the point where he went to a rotary function and he went up 2 stairs, and he called me. He's like, "Oh my God, Kim, I literally am out of breath going up 2 stairs." And I said, "Is this new?" And he says, "Well, I've been having trouble, shortness of breath, but I thought I was tired. I thought it was because of, the pain in my leg. All these other excuses that, maybe I was just, having allergies, whatever it was." It turns out it was his right coronary. It was 95% blocked. So you really do need to pay attention. You're right. This is an important lesson. We had a patient in our walking program, My Steps, where we monitor everybody's symptoms. And they come in and there are red flags for things like shortness of breath, chest pain, things like that. And a red flag came in for shortness of breath. And it turns out, again, right coronary for this person. And if I hadn't have seen it and called her cardiologist, she would have just gone on because she's like, oh, I just thought it was because I was increasing my steps and I was out of shape.
I rationalized a bit that myself, and Sue accused me of being in denial a bit because I guess I didn't want to have heart surgery. And so, it's not just a river in Egypt, right? Denial. And so, yeah, that's the risk, the real risk. And the thing is, you can get really close to being dead and still be doing fine. And then all of a sudden you're not.
Yeah.
That's a question, Kevin. Can I
Hi,
ask
Douglas.
that question? Hey, welcome, Kevin. We're so glad to have you with us this morning. But my question for as smart as you are with your intelligence, and you've known this is coming. I mean, I first thought when I heard this was, I'm sure glad you didn't have a stroke and go away because you waited. So was
You're
there
being
was
called
there
out, Kevin.
This is what happened. I had the first real clue 2 weeks ago that this was real. Remember, it was in the jaw pain I had was exactly where I had a tooth problem that had to be extracted. And that was a horrendous month of toothache, but it was hiding jaw pain due to cardiovascular
Yeah.
insufficiency. And so
Oh,
I haven't been able to train. So I thought, well, I'm not as strong on the treadmill. And about 2 weeks ago, I went on the treadmill and I did 11 minutes and I had to get off. And I'm like, whoa. And so I backed off. I once again thought it's because of lack of training. And about a week later, I guess I decided I better go see my doctor. So I went and saw her. And this shows you how there's a lot of luck involved in life. I went and saw her. She's great, good doctor. I told her the symptoms. She immediately ran an EKG. I sent that to Sue, my partner, and she's a cardiac rehab nurse. She read it. She said you need to get in to a cardiologist as soon as possible. My doctor made a referral to a local cardiologist. She said we'll call in 2 days. So I'm, just chilling out, waiting for this call from a cardiologist, not wanting to go into the ER because you never know what you're going to get in there. You could wait,
mhm.
you wait all day and die, or you could be dealt with in 5 minutes. It's completely unpredictable. Whereas if I go to a cardiologist that my physician trusts, anyway, no phone call came. After 4 days, no phone call. But
That's
the
so
place, the
sad.
place, the place was locked down with a ice storm. So
Right.
that was just bad timing. So I went out to my truck on Monday afternoon just to get something in the truck, nothing heavy. I just walked down to the truck, probably 50 feet. And as I turned from the truck, boom, it was like someone sat on my chest. It was like I hadn't had that. I had a bit of tightness here and a bit of shoulders, a bit of back stuff, shortage of breath. But this was like someone sat on my chest. And I'm like, shit. So I stopped. I didn't move. I let everything calm down. I had my phone. I called my friend Tara. She picked me up from the road and took me straight to the ER, and then went back to my house to make sure the dogs and cats and everything's okay. I called multiple friends, and I did the right thing. But it's so easy to say, you don't really want this to happen. You don't believe it's this. I don't want to be in the ER. I'm fine. I can get by. Maybe it's just I'm out of training or having a bad day. And if you do that at the wrong time, you're dead. So I was very fortunate. I was also fortunate to have friends. And that's why making friends and having a network like we have here is so important as you get older or if you run into disease problems.
doesn't that also express what Kim says? And you said this too. Those of us with PAD, we need to have this check to begin with, so we know where we are before or after it gets to that point, right?
Yeah, but in my case, it wasn't until they went into the cardiac cath lab because they ran EKGs and they're looking at things and it doesn't look too bad. They're not too sure. The troponin is up a little, so there's obviously a minor thing. And then I go in the cath lab and they map out the vessels in my heart. And it's a big deal to get in there. And there they discover that my right heart is completely full of collaterals, and the
Wow.
major coronary artery that supplies that part of the heart is completely occluded. They can't even get anything in there. And yet you wouldn't know from the EKG, but we can't take everybody into a cath lab. So it's a real tricky problem as to what you do. And the horrible thing about this is you can have very subtle symptoms, and suddenly someone's sitting on your chest, and then you're dead. It's that quick. And I think what I had was, the straw that broke the camel's back. Something was just too much for my heart to cope with. And I did the right thing. I went to my doctor. She referred me to a cardiologist. And then there was a snowstorm, so he didn't call me because they were closed. And that's just unfortunate circumstance which happens. But I did the right thing, but too slow. But that's 2020 hindsight.
Yeah. Well, you
So
also, and I hear this a lot, you end up in denial, and because you really don't want it to be. And that's a major thing that's easy to just say, okay, I really don't want it's weird. It's almost contradictory. I really don't want to die, but I don't want to go to the hospital to die. Right. Well,
right.
it's kind of like, it's very strange what goes through your mind, because the same thing went through my dad's mind as I went back in reverse and said, was that your first symptom? And he also said, well, I thought it was something, but honestly, I didn't want to go to the hospital and have it be something, is what he said to me.
Yeah, for me, I knew something was going on, but I didn't think it was as serious as it was. And so I did the right thing. I went to my PCP and she ran an EKG. I mean, that's normal, right? And I'm getting around, I'm working around, I'm fine. I mean, 2 days before that, I walked into town 2 miles there, mile there, mile back, walked the dogs, no problem, nothing, no shortage of breath, but a little kind of weird feelings in my shoulders, a little bit of a weird feeling in my throat. And that's what it was. That was cardiovascular, as it turned out. The biggest problem with this is it's like buying a house. People who buy a house are at the mercy of the realty industry, because the realty industry know all about buying houses, and they know all about you and who you are and what you do and what you're going to do. And so you're like a sitting duck. You have to be very careful because you only do this maybe once in your life. And chances are you're only going to have one heart attack in your life. And so you come in, the person who is most closest to the problem is the one with the least experience, which is you. So I see why it happens. But there's always messages on the radio saying, shortage of breath, and they list the things, go to the ER, and they're right. They're right about that. But again, you never had one before, right?
You have to trust yourself. We had a patient that went in for a stress test at our urging. We said, you really need to go in, because he was talking about there were symptoms that were just concerning, that it wasn't really his legs that were, as he was upping it for P.A.D. And the doctor says, just keep upping that, keep pushing through the pain and pushing through the pain. Well, that pain can trigger something. And so something just wasn't feeling right. So I said, you really need to go see your cardiologist. And he went, and he's like, hey, I'm under the cardiologist care. He's going to do the tests and everything else, but he doesn't think anything's going on. He just thinks that I'm out of shape. So he did the stress test 2 weeks later, and he had his consult with the cardiologist. And the cardiologist was like, well, it looks fine. You feeling fine? I mean, there's a little concern, but if you're feeling fine, that's okay. He's like, his wife told me later, yeah, she told him he was feeling great. No problems, doctor. I'm walking, I'm increasing my steps. Went out into the parking lot, dropped dead. Heart attack.
Yeah. It's a
And
tricky
you
one.
wonder, how is it that they missed it? How is that?
Well, I self-diagnosed my aortic aneurysm. And I went to my physician and she listened to my abdomen and said, no, there's nothing going on. I knew there was something going on, but you're not going to hear it with a stethoscope. So I went and got a scan. But that's why you have to be your own physician. I mean, physicians are really important. They help us, they save our lives. But at the end of the day, you should be your own physician as much as possible. And then consider doctors and all these other people as tools in your toolbox. And by the way, hi, Carl and Cindy. Welcome.
Yeah, we have
Oh,
Carl,
Cindy
Marina,
smiled. She looked
Cindy,
very serious.
Mike, Jean, Douglas. I think Cindy is on her treadmill as well. We're taking steps for you, Kevin.
Oh,
And
Marina,
anyone who's,
Are you back on his torvastatin yet? I should have.
No, I'm staying off of that, but Kevin, I mean, I'm local, close to you, so if you need anything, a good burger, anything, just call me and I'll bring
He
it
likes
to
his
you.
Beyond
Okay, I
Burgers. He likes the
appreciate that.
Beyond Burgers.
No,
Yeah,
but
I
if
know,
you, seriously, if you need anything, don't hesitate.
Well, my girlfriend's driving from Missouri. She's on the road right now. And I got multiple friends here. So I really appreciate that, though. And you know, that's the power of this. Imagine if I didn't have any friends around here, knew nobody, and Marina makes that offer. It would be a lifesaver, you know? I mean, it really can. It's and the biggest problem is always emotional. You know, oh my God, this life is over or whatever stuff. I hear that from people. And to know somebody cares like Marina cares, that's money in your emotional bank, right?
Douglas says he brought his jumper cables in. Douglas. We're all here for you. We're ready to charge you up.
So I have a question.
Hey,
This has been
Carl.
a really, this is really interesting because I feel like one of the underlying themes that both you, Kim, and Kevin have been talking about today is kind of underestimating either the one of us, the patients, underestimating what we're experiencing, and I'm sticking with the heart stuff, or the medical profession underestimating what we're reporting, or what they're seeing. So I have a situation like that where I may have been underestimating, I may not have been, but I have a periodically recurring pain that I attribute to an intercostal muscle right over the top of my heart. And you know, when it feels off, it's not like it's hard to breathe. I can breathe, but I feel it when I'm breathing in and filling my lungs. And I don't know how to find kind of any clear information on whether that's a symptom that needs to be paid attention to or not.
You had your heart checked?
Well, so that this all ties together. So like when I went and I saw Gary
Uh-huh.
at Swedish in Seattle, what the doctor that you actually gave me his name,
Yeah, Dr. Hayes.
Dr. Hayes. Sorry, yeah, and you know, I saw him and he's like, oh yeah, we, you know, pretty much definitely confirmed that I've got P.A.D. And I said, well, you know, what about looking at other parts of the system? And he said, nah, you seem fine. And I so nobody, you know, it doesn't seem like a primary care physician is inclined to ask for a certain set of cardiac tests when I seem fine. You know, I swim, I walk more than I used to walk, and so on and so forth. So without it even being so specifically about this pain that I get sometimes, it's like a question of like how to, and I felt like I was a really good advocate for myself to get diagnosed and confirmed with P.A.D. But when I like wanted to take it to the next step and it's like, hey, I've got some clogged artery situation. Why don't we check out the other parts of
Yeah.
the system? Everybody's like, ah, oh, you're fine.
I think they face the
And
problem of taking off your shoes, getting on the plane. There's the bomber on the plane with the bomb in his shoes, right? And now everyone has to take their shoes off to get on the plane. And so they can't face the problem of everybody going to the cath lab because they have indigestion, but they don't want to miss the ones that the biggest problem is false positives and negatives. Medicine always faces false positives and negatives, and you can never
yeah,
eliminate them completely. So if you have a certain pain, like right over, you know, over your stomach, it could be indigestion, it could be strained, you know,
it could
muscle in
be
your rib.
heartburn. It could be, yeah.
Yeah, it could be that, or but then they can't send you to the cath lab. I mean, what do they do? The stuff they found in me, they didn't really find till I was in the cath lab, which is a highly sophisticated thing. It's just pre-heart surgery place. So it is a problem, and it's just like the shoes on the plane problem. How does security catch everyone? They can't catch everyone. Then you have to decide yourself whether to get on the plane or not. Yeah, I see their dilemma. It's and I think the things we do here, the peer experts and peer awareness and talking to each other and discussing things, I think us being here and talking can pick up the odd case that might get missed. Like we'll be talking to you, and I think, a specific pain right here. Is there anything else? You out of breath, or have you been to your doctor? If they run it, first thing to do is run an EKG. My problem is evident on an EKG, which takes 15 seconds once they put the leads on. So maybe an EKG is something one could have if you're truly concerned, because it definitely revealed my problem. It didn't define it, but it said there's a problem. So, but the thing is, I went to my doctor about a thing which sounded like a heart problem. It didn't sound like an indigestion or a rib problem. So would you go to the doctor and they give you an EKG? That's the question. It always comes down. This in a way is where AI could help if it's done right, because it would chuck up a differential diagnostic list, which often people forget. What's on the list? What is on the list? And at the top for you might be indigestion, strained rib, intercostal strain, da 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 da, cardiac insufficiency, da 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 da. But it's on the list and it's in your face. And then the doctor will go, "Whoa, wait a minute. Oh, Mr. Jones, can you afford an EKG for $200 or not?" And explain why. And it's so quick. It was really quick. The EKG was done like that. I've had 10 EKGs since I got in the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
And they reveal the situation, but don't define it. The next step was CT scans with contrast. I had to have a whole body aorta scan because they were worried about dissection, so they ran that. But now I'm already in a hospital, in a cardio unit, with people dealing with cardiology and aortic problems, in the same hospital as my endovascular surgeon. And I'm in an area which is full of scientists and hospitals. What does the guy do, if he's out 100 miles out of town in a farming community? That's the guy we need to worry about. And so can you get an EKG to him? Or is there an app you can click on his stools? Is there something you can do to get him in? It's the same problem. It's the same problem as the bomb on the plane.
I think when it comes to folks that have P.A.D, we had a vascular surgeon that at first, the other day she was saying that when it comes to C.A.D, she's not going to test every patient that has P.A.D. And I actually, because she and I have a great relationship where just the week before she disagreed with me. And so we have that and we see each other's points. She got me to agree with her then. And then this time I actually got her to see a different perspective. She just happened to, when I asked her about it, took it from one perspective, which is what you said, Kevin, which is you don't want to do a bunch of unnecessary tests if people don't have symptoms. But are you, as a vascular surgeon, keeping up with how cardiologists, advanced skilled cardiologists, are now defining those symptoms, right? And the questions they're now asking, which are different than what they used to. So still so many doctors are looking for angina, the typical chest pain. But Dr. Parag Doshi, who is a leading cardiologist over in the Chicago area, he's one of the pioneers for crossing CTOs, or chronic total occlusions, or 100% blockages in the heart. He's literally one of the pioneers of creating, some techniques to get across some of the toughest blockages. Not like your case, though. Still a lot is left to open. But he was saying in front of our audience at the last conference we had a couple of years ago, angina is no longer what we should be waiting for. What we need to be looking for is fatigue. Fatigue is the new angina. Shortness of breath is the new angina. And how you tell the difference between an average person who may have shortness of breath and fatigue versus someone who is literally on the verge of a heart attack, what are the risk factors? And with PAD is a huge risk factor. People who have, right? So people who have CAD may not have PAD, but just about everyone who has PAD has some form of CAD. 3 in 5 people who suffer a heart attack have PAD. So you have to push for it. You have to push for the testing. You can get a PET scan, pretty easy to do in most places. And for my dad, I ended up, he was in the doctor and he thought it was indigestion. So when he went to the doctor, he had pretty severe indigestion, or so he thought. He said to the doctor, yeah, you know, I got off the elliptical and I grabbed my bromo seltzer and I drank some bromo seltzer, some big gulps, and then I belched and I felt better. And so she was like, okay, well, it has to be heartburn. You know, this is your diagnosis. I'm giving you a prescription for Prilosec at the time. And I said, you know, something still doesn't feel right. He's not walking as far and as fast as he used to. You know, he seems a little more fatigued lately. Something else is going on.
That was my first symptom, and I kind of blew it off.
See, but you know,
But
I think that this speaks volumes. If you, who is experienced, blew it off, right? How easy is it for the rest of us to blow it off? Even our doctors to blow it off.
Right.
So that's the story. And Kevin, you nailed it on the head a minute ago. I think that's my a little short thing. That's my story. Is that I was having all the symptoms, but they occluded it to me having trouble walking with my PAD, and I was in Houston to have a bypass. He was going to go in and put stents. I had a stroke on the table going into the operating room. And they sent me to another hospital in Houston, and that same day put a defibrillator in. 2 days later, I had a heart doctor come in, and that's where they found I had atypical hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. And 2 weeks later, I had open heart surgery. But it wasn't until that point that the test was done that I needed to have done to show what I had.
Right.
And so it was all that. And how do you become that best advocate when you're fighting to get a test done? Or if they're saying it like Carl, well, or like Kim's dad, I had indigestion. You know, it's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Douglas, I want you to go back because I don't want anyone to brush over what you said, which was so important. You have PAD and you were going in to Dr. Z over in Houston to have a leg procedure. And I remember this vividly because he called me and said, Kim, I sent him to the hospital. So walk us through what was going through your mind in that experience.
So I'm on the table. They did the EKG, and she looked at me and said, Mr. Salisbury, how do you feel? I said, I don't feel very well right now. She said, it shows you're all over the place. And then next thing I know, he's standing next to the bed and said, Mr. Salisbury, you need to go to the hospital. And because I can't, we almost got a butt shot.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine.
So, yeah, it was like, so I remember him saying, you need to go to the hospital because there you go. There you go.
See, he has his yellow shorts on.
So it was that point, and I think I did. I've been told, I was told all that time, well, it's just your PAD. It's just your PAD. You may not just feel good because of that. So, and it was that I remember looking at her when she said that. How do you feel? I said, I don't feel good. And I was feeling the chest pressure. I was short of breath and it hurt. And I got to the hospital, and within 10 minutes, the heart doctor said, we need to put a defibrillator in right now. You're going to ER right now. Yeah. So I went straight to ER. They put a defibrillator in, and like I said, 2 days later, I had all these other tests done, and that's when they found out my heart condition. And 2 weeks later, I had open heart surgery.
There's,
I think it should be a rule. It needs to be policy that before you start, and you would think it'd be obvious, before any patient is told when they have PAD that they need to walk, walk, walk and pick up their pace, they need a full heart workup to ensure that their heart can actually take it, because it's hard at that point to tell whether or not literally the fatigue, the shortness of breath, and things like that are just due to being out of shape, or if there is something more going on. But with PAD, if you're at the point where you are experiencing intermittent claudication and you have had it for a long period of time, the likelihood of you having some sort of coronary issue, very likely. Whether it's something that they need to treat with a surgery, that's a whole other story. They say that medicine is really powerful to treat it, and that is frontline treatment, but at least then you're going to be monitored more closely. So as you increase your steps to improve your claudication, right, you're going to be actually doing the same for your heart, because as Kevin said, you can actually grow those little lifesavers, those collaterals around your heart as well, right, Kevin?
yeah, I want to say there are two areas where there's issues. One is us, the patients, and two is the medical profession. We are grasping at straws, trying to save ourselves from problems and learn and understand what's going on, and that's what we do here. On the other side of the coin is the medical profession. I'm from talking to quite a few doctors here in the last 2 days, and of course many over the last few years. There's a silo problem, because standing around me were maybe 6 or 7 people in cardiologists, cardiac, surgeons, residents, and they're standing around. And I'm talking about PAD and how, there's ways you can improve as a patient blood flow to your feet. And I could see it was so clear, because I wasn't talking about the heart. They're already losing interest in my statements. They don't put them together. They don't live in the foot silo, they live in the heart silo. And that is a bit of a problem. It's almost inevitable, because you need different skills. But once again, it's a huge marketing problem. Marketing knowledge to patients, and marketing open-mindedness to physicians who have limited time. So I told quite a few here about, the P.A.D. 100 thing. The interest was zero, 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 zero. It was so obvious. Not one of them came later and said, what you said just now, they just got on with their heart stuff, because that's what they do. They do heart stuff. The trouble is PAD is heart stuff. And I have PAD of the heart. They also check my carotids. I have minor blockage, very, very minor in one carotid, which brings me to the circular Willis. That's an interesting question. Not Bruce Willis, the circular Willis. And so, and there you're dealing with the brain. So the brain people don't talk to us very much either. Yet you can have aneurysms and obstructions in your blood supply in your head. So yeah, so I think the real trick is keep talking and be your own physician.
I think that's so
Kevin.
important. Hi, Carl.
Hi, Kevin. So, of course, we all know that we expect and want to develop claudication and a certain threshold zone of pain to grow collaterals in our feet, in our legs. So with you having this incredible network of collaterals around your heart, does that mean that you were feeling, was the question for your heart and the angiogenesis in that region also painful?
No, I don't. I was pretty strong. I was a Ironman triathlete, a marathoner.
Right.
I was swimming 5,000 yard swims and all that stuff, and I've been building those collaterals, I bet, over the last 20 years or more. But how many of them grew more recently? The timing of their growth, as my coronary artery on that side blocked and blocked and blocked. And slowly the blood movement shifted from that coronary artery into the collaterals that are growing, the same as they are with us below our knee. If we keep going and doing the walking and the training, slowly that blood flow shifts from the blocked artery. It's like a traffic jam, and traffic goes around the neighborhoods and gets on through the neighborhoods. And it's exactly the same kind of network behavior. And so, but I didn't have any sense of cardiac problems. Remember, I've been to my endovascular surgeon, and they run all these tests on me every time I go for my aneurysm, and nobody noticed any problem with my heart, nor did I. But I was expecting it, but not to this extent. I get a feeling these people found my case kind of interesting and confusing because they're not used to patients coming in. They keep saying the number of times that staff, nurses, fellows, residents, not so much the physicians, because they're a little bit more, like this, like one or two said, "Are you really 82? Are you really?"
I
And so
know,
they didn't
right?
believe me. And so I'm not what they're used to seeing. And I doubt they're used to seeing people who've just done, Ironman races having completely clogged coronary arteries. They're not used to
Right.
seeing that. And this is because exercise is not the biggest problem is encouraging someone to do exercise won't run their business and won't pay their bills. A lot of this comes down to money. I mean, I teach someone the P.A.D. 100 and they can get around better. I can't make money doing that. Well, they got to make money because this expensive shit all around me, all sorts of amazing equipment. And so there's that, the facilities and the equipment divide, which needs money. And then there's a patient with a pair of shoes that maybe have the right toe box. They're worlds that need to come together. We only do it by talking to one person at a time.
It's true. And I see Mike sitting there, and Mike does your PAD 100, and Mike did your PAD 100 and was able to get to a 13K, right, Mike?
Hi, yeah, sorry, I took a minute to unmute then. Yeah, I still do your P.A.D. 100 every single morning. And just to let you know as well, Kevin, on my way to the airport the other day to fly to the UK, I put your podcast on, and it was very enjoyable listening, if I can just say that to you. And thanks for that.
Which podcast was that?
The audio book that you did, the first one that you did with
The one
Joshua.
of my Asperger's memoir.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
I've almost finished. I mean, I got sidelined a bit here because of this minor cardiac problem I have. Anyway, I've almost got the novel finished. I was just creating the marketing piece you have to put into Amazon, and then I shot into the ER instead. And I know Josh thinks I'm equivocating, procrastinating, but I'm not. I had a minor distraction. So
I don't
that'll be
think
out
he
soon.
thinks that.
But I also put out the P.A.D. training plan. Nobody buys that or shows any interest. But I'm not surprised. This all comes down to marketing. It's all about marketing. It's about the peacock's tail. And I showed you my peacock's tail just now.
And just so you all know, I am just relaxing. I've done 23,000 steps today, so I'm
Good
having
job,
a nice
Mike.
evening chill today. I've done a big walk. I went to go and see my dad at the graveside, and yeah, it's been a good day for me today.
So how about
Good for you.
we think about this in terms of an action item? I mean, Mike can do all this stuff because he's young and he lives in Canada and he's English, right? I think those are all the reasons. Anyway, being young helps. Oh my God. Anyway, it seems to me that somehow we have to find a way to bring these communities together so they talk to each other more. I mean, I don't know how to do this. I mean, I'm doing it here, right? By being here. Maybe we all need to have heart attacks and then tell the physicians while they're having a heart attack. But they don't seem to do that. It's the silo problem. And it's also the same for us. We have friends who smoke and don't eat well, and then they have health problems. And how do we get them to change? And it's always through education. There's only two ways you can change people: by example and by telling stories. I don't know of anything else that works. And that's what we do. We tell stories. My books are stories. And yeah, interesting stuff, actually. It's good not being dead, I can tell you that.
I just
Well,
want to
we
say
need
as well,
to.
Kevin, just want to say get well soon. And just a bit of an update on last week. I know I was a little bit down last week because I went to go and see the vascular doctor. Well, I've been on the phone with my GP this week, and they're going to do a few tests tomorrow morning. So I'm having a blood test to check my cholesterol. I'm having an ABI. He's going to check on the Raynaud's and stuff. So I'll feel a lot more positive than I did last week. So
Oh,
I
that's
just
good.
wanted
Yeah,
to
I
give
can
you that
see you're
update.
happy. That's
Yeah.
good. You're a bit
And I
frozen
think
right
it,
now.
but I think that you brought up a really good point though last week that Mike, that Douglas and I actually brought up to a doctor on Monday that we talked to, Dr. Peter Ferrugia. He's an interventional cardiologist, and he was talking about how to quit smoking. I can't remember if you were there or not, but I think that
No.
there was one moment where, he was talking about just the importance of a doctor acknowledging in a very big way the strides that a patient is taking on their own to become the best partner in care, walking, quitting smoking, not dismissing them. But when a patient says, "Hey, doctor, I literally was not walking a block a week ago, and now suddenly I am walking a mile. This is incredible. I'm pushing through the pain. I've quit smoking. What do you think?" And in your case, the doctor said, "Oh, okay, great. I'm discharging you. Goodbye." And
Yeah.
that was demotivating. There's a
Yeah.
big role for the doctor in terms of being a little bit of a coach and a motivating factor, right?
Yeah, it got me down the way that he was last week, and it was shown on when I was talking to you guys a little bit later on. It was yeah, I did feel disheartened. I did feel let down. I was like, well, where do I go from here? But after speaking to my GP, who is a great guy, he's looked after me since I lost my first husband, John. He knows everything about me, and I spoke to him on the phone, and he was like, he actually apologized for the way that the vascular doctor treated me.
Wow.
He was like, I'm really sorry that you feel like the way that you're feeling after that appointment. He said, I thought that it was going to be a little bit more positive for you.
Right.
So even my GP apologized for his kind of behavior type of thing. So yeah, and after speaking to the GP, he spent 20 minutes on the phone with me explaining everything.
Wow.
And he said, yes, if you want, I'll do another ABI. He said, I don't feel like we need to. He said, but just to put your mind at rest, I'll do another one. I'll check your cholesterol levels. I'll sort out your medication for your Raynaud's. And he was just 100% behind me, and looking after
Hey,
me the way that they
Kevin,
should.
Uh-huh.
when you hear this story about Mike,
Douglas.
hey, Mike,
Yeah.
I say this all the time. I think you and I talked about this one time too. When I leave the doctor, if I feel a sense I've been heard and I feel a sense of hope, it changes my attitude when I'm driving home, which
No,
affects
100%.
everything after that. But if I leave the doctor feeling like I haven't been heard and I'm still lost, it does affect my attitude and our attitudes, don't it? How many of us
Yeah.
have talked about that in this group with 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 feel like being just spend that extra 5 minutes with me, extra 5 minutes and answer two questions makes a difference. Then said,
Yeah.
okay, here we are. See you later.
Yeah. I totally agree with you with that. I even went through the list of questions that I had for the vascular doctor. I never even got to when I went to go and see him. So I had the list of questions for my GP, and I said, I'm really sorry that I'm going to be, asking all these questions. And he answered, say, 80% of them, and made me feel so much better about everything. So yeah, 100% feeling better than I did last week.
See, I'm on
Yeah,
the
you
other end of
because
I'm on the other end of the spectrum, and I don't react like that at all. My reaction is always, does this guy know his shit, or does he not know his shit? Does he really know? Is his advice good? Is it solid?
Yeah.
I
Mm.
challenge them on the physiology, anatomy, whatever, on biomechanics. And if they understand that, I don't care whether they worry about how I feel. It's irrelevant to me. What I want to know is, are they a good mechanic?
Yeah.
And that's the difference between us. And we both need different things. And we're so, in a way, for me, when I go to a doctor who worries about how I feel, but he doesn't seem to understand this situation as well as I do, I leave. I can't deal with that person. That's because I'm a different kind of person. And the best mechanics are often the least able socially. So I think if you're going to a surgeon and they have poor bedside manner, that is actually a good sign. I know that sounds weird, but it's actually a good sign.
To a point,
Because
to a point.
because this is mechanics, it's engineering. What these people do is actually fluid mechanics engineering and hydrodynamics, and that is not, therapy. And so you can't expect them to be both, but it depends what you want and what you need, and we're all different that way. And so then you select your physicians accordingly to give you what you need. Because if you do need that, you need it. I need the physics to be right. You need to feel heard. So those are different needs. And as long as you realize that, and the wisdom of knowing thyself, and then you will interpret the behavior of the physician, maybe I don't say more charitably, but more with more understanding of why they do what they do. I mean, would you like to go to a surgeon who pats you on the back and says you're great, but kills half his patients? I don't think so. And so this is again, it's the problem of phenotypic variation of humans.
Yeah.
But
But I think
Kevin,
it can
can
go
I?
both ways.
Okay.
Can I comment really quick and then just really, but I just want to clarify
I'm
something. It
sorry.
can go both ways, right? It can be, I had a patient where the doctor took all the time in the world, and this is what you're saying, Kevin, right? He took all the time in the world and he walked her through that CT angiogram like she was the most important person in the world, and he took her through step by step by step by step, all the way down from her abdomen to her groin to her thighs to her knees. And then when he got to the actual problem, which was in her tibials, he said, yep, and those are your tibials, and that's where we draw the line. So walk until you can't walk anymore, and we'll cut it off. He actually literally stopped right there. I was like, wow. Um,
Yeah,
okay.
he was nice to her and kind of sweet and emotional. I'm not
He-
criticizing that need of yours, Mike. I'm saying there are different needs, and we need to get. It's like you can't get everything from one person. Like people go into a marriage and they think that can provide everything they need. Well, it's not true. They need friends. They need other things. They come together, but they can't provide each other with everything. And no doctor can provide us with everything we need. And so it's a matter of doing triage on your doctor too. I'd rather trust their knowledge of biomechanics than their understanding of human emotion. But that's me.
if
That's what I need. That's what I need. I'm not saying
they
that's what
can
you need.
be, they can be really, really arrogant and not a good bedside manner, which hides the fact that they really don't know what they're doing. So I think that there is a compromise, and I think that there is a middle ground. And I don't think it's a matter of giving the patient emotional support as much as it is that I think when it comes to lifestyle modifications, it is really tough for a lifetime of habits, right? To break those habits, and a moment of acknowledgement, I think would have gone a long way for Mike, right, Mike? Just a moment of
Oh yeah.
acknowledgement.
Yeah, and especially when I told him, like you said earlier on, Kim, I was trying to explain how I've improved myself, with me exercising every day and giving up smoking, changing my diet, and he just kind of brushed everything off, and if he'd have just took a moment to say, I know, Kevin, last week you were talking about me needing emotional support, and yeah, I suppose that sometimes I do need that, but the way that he acted, he just brushed everything off. It was just like there was no acknowledgement on anything. I told him I've given up smoking last February when I was diagnosed. Oh, right, okay. It wasn't a well done you're doing really well, you're doing everything right. It wasn't, he just wasn't like that. He wasn't that type of doctor. And I get what you're saying with like him not having good bedside manner. And some doctors are like that. So I've just got to take that on the chin, really.
My best Ironman coach was just like your doctor. I mean, after I think I mentioned before, I was into Ironman, and I just done like my second full Ironman race and took 45 minutes off my time with his coaching. And I thought he was going to say, "That's great, Kevin. Well done." He didn't say that at all. All he said was, "What happened to your cadence on the bike?" When I look at my cadence on the bike, it was down around 70. It should have been up at 85. He didn't say, "Well done for the 45 minutes," but I knew now I had to work on my cadence on the bike. That's how I reacted. And another person who wants a pat on the back, and people do need that. they would have been upset. Well, wait a minute, I cut 45 minutes off my race time. That's quite significant. And so my mind didn't need that. But for people who do need that, he'd be a terrible coach. It
Yeah.
wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. He'd be the wrong coach. So once again, you need to have the right match between physician and patient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not so
And
easy
another,
when we have so little control over which physician we have. I had no choice on which cardiac surgeon here. I was given no choice. He
yeah.
just
Can
turned
I
up.
just ask? Can I just ask a little bit of advice off you all? He wanted me to start on clopidogrel, however you say it.
Antiplatelet.
I'm a bit unsure about taking it. Is the aspirin all right to still take on aspirin and refuse the clopidogrel for now?
Well, that is up to you and your doctor. So we want to make sure that the doctor would know, but I do know a lot of patients that have been escalated to taking clopidogrel, in situations like yours. So it depends on the situation, and you can try it if you both think it's best. But if you don't feel a difference, have the additional conversation in 6 months with your doctor and discuss whether it's necessary and if you need to go back to the aspirin. But it
Yeah.
seems as though you were mentioning concern about the Raynaud's, and that is one of the therapies that is suggested to try.
Okay. Okay. I was just a bit unsure because I've looked at the side effects and stuff, and I was a bit put off by the side effects of clopidogrel. So I just wanted to ask you guys, but thank you, Kim. Thank you.
Mhm. And Carl was
Can
going
I-
to say something. I cut you off rudely, Carl.
No, I not at all. And actually, I think it got covered because I don't remember what it was.
But I think that with your experience, I think after hearing this, are you going to go back, or do you want me to go to Dr. Hayes and say, hey, can you get him with a
No,
cardiologist?
I actually have a really cooperative primary care,
Oh, good.
and
Our gatekeepers.
yeah, and I mean, like they were the ones that missed. I'm sorry. I'm having a moment. That completely missed the
I caught you off
peripheral
guard.
the peripheral artery disease for years, and just
Yeah.
attributed it to leg pain that I was having. And but as soon as I, did what Kevin talks about, which is, being your own physician, and diagnosed it myself, when I realized that, the match, I mean, I had 100% match. And then I went back into my primary care and I said, this is what's going on. They just like plugged it into their, whatever it is that they can see all the medical, all the diseases and all the symptoms. And like, they were like, okay, here's the prescription for the ABI, and a trip to the vascular surgeon. So they don't seem well enough educated for diagnosing first line what's going on with this, but they did seem very cooperative once I identified it and they could corroborate in their system that I actually had a good matchup. So I think what I probably would do is I'd go back to my PCP and just say, this is a symptom that I have on occasion. I've heard very educated statistics that 3 out of 5 people that have cardiac situations have uh, oh my God. Anyway, peripheral artery disease, and that I have this symptom going on, and it doesn't seem to be attributed to anything that I can place it with. Can we check it out? And I probably would get a better, quick, maybe even just a referral back to Dr. Hayes at that point.
Yeah.
So I think in my particular case, because I have a cooperative primary care physician, if I bring an educated diagnosis to them, probable diagnosis to them, they may cooperate and help me get the follow through.
Yeah, I think the primary care is I mean, they're the gatekeepers, and they can make all the difference in the world, as Mike was saying, but also in Kevin's case, you know, your primary care this time was like, but you know what, honestly, I feel like with your symptoms, I don't know why, did at any point your PCP, or they probably know you too well, tell you to go to the ER and go get checked out immediately?
No, she was sending me to a cardiologist she trusted. Whereas you go to the ER, you don't know what you're going to get. And so
And
if you
that's
call back,
too
if you
bad.
call back, not in 4 days, but in 6 hours, which is what should have happened, then I would probably have gone with that person. But then in came a snowstorm, the roads were closed, businesses closed. So that kind of gave a bit unfair to him too. But I never met him, never saw him. That was the person that Sue recommended. So there's a couple of things I want to say. Number one, Carl, you are not alone when you can't remember a damn thing you were trying to think of. I have that more and more as I get older. And number two, Marina is making me miss my dogs more and more. I really
Oh,
miss my dogs, and they're not allowed in here. And a
no,
good
Marina,
dog.
do you have your dog sitting there? I totally missed it.
I did, but my husband just called him, so he's no longer
Oh,
here.
we love puppy therapy. You
I
can
saw her
always keep
stroke.
the
I saw her
puppy.
stroking the dog.
I've got to say,
How's Cindy doing?
I-
She's very quiet.
I'm missing
Would like
Lulu being in England. I'm missing Lulu being here. Yeah, she's back in Canada with Geordie and with Chance. So yeah, I'm missing my dog as well, Kevin. So I know exactly how you're feeling.
You're going to be with
I
VJ,
mean,
right,
can
in
I,
the next week and go hiking?
Sometime in February, I need to get in touch with her and see what the plans are. So I think it's
Okay.
something like the 18th, 19th of February. So yeah.
Wow.
Well, I just want to say one more thing, if I may. I'm always talking to people about being their own physician. I think if you haven't got any medical training and it's hard for you to do, at least be your own best advocate against the system. Push to get yourself listened to. And if the doctor won't listen, don't scream at him. That doesn't work, but persist. That can actually end up saving your life. So, yeah, these are all interesting social problems, but don't seem to have much to do with mathematics.
yeah.
Hi, Cindy. Kevin
Hello,
wanted to get an
hello.
update from you. How are you doing? Hi,
Can you hear me?
Marilyn.
I'm
Oh,
good.
there's Marilyn. The peanut
Oh,
gallery is here.
oh,
Hi,
I
Marilyn.
just, I was, hi, I just was gonna say something. I'm not sure if I'm interrupting.
Never.
Am I
I love
interrupting?
your
No,
commentary.
you know, we're all interrupting all the time. That's how it works.
I'm just gonna say, I'm watching my carotid arteries because I have some blockage there as well. And the head of the, I asked my doctor to send me to the stroke prevention clinic because I wanted that to be followed. But he did them once. I think my blockages were like 50 to 60%. And I said, well, I'd like them followed every year. Well, why? And I said, well, I just want to be sure what's happening. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want my first symptom to be a stroke or, anyway. So he wouldn't. But I phoned his office and I managed to get in the next year anyway. And I talked to his nurse, and she said, well, I'm getting you in for every year. That doctor will listen to me. Whatever I tell him to do, he'll do. So he did, and he's now seeing me after every carotid ultrasound. But this is what he said to me. Well, I'm going to see you every year. He says, because you're a nurse, and he said we take care of our own. And that actually made me angry when he said that. I thought, what about those who aren't?
What about
I mean,
everybody
come
else?
on, give me. No kidding. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
No, but I think that that's important. I think with carotid artery disease, they end up, you really want to focus on the stability, right, of the plaque, increase the growth, but even more importantly, because if a piece of plaque breaks off, that's a really big concern. So I'm sure they have you on maximum medical therapy for that.
Well, the vascular, not the vascular, the stroke prevention guy, I don't even know what, he's not a vascular surgeon. I don't recall him. But he just said, well, you're slim, you're vegan, you're doing all the right things, so you should be okay. But I've got an ulcerated portion on my right side that they're a little concerned about. But he said, well, we could send you for CAT scans and this and that. But he said it would just probably lead to more nonsense that you really don't need. So just follow it for now. I think he's probably right on that, actually.
Well, we always suggest a
Plus, my
second opinion
kidneys,
just in case.
we don't, I'm in Canada. I would never get a second opinion on that.
Nope. Nope.
So
But it
anyway,
sounds
that's
like
all
you're
I
being
had to say.
monitored, and good for you for fighting for it. And good for that nurse
I really
for
thought,
fighting for you, the
yeah,
patient, and saying, hey, you know what? We should be monitoring this. And I know even for me, I have a thoracic aneurysm. It's 3.7, and everyone, there's any doctor that's watching, they're going to say that's small, but my cardiologist knows my family history, knows my mom passed away of it, knows that my brother has advanced stage. So they just want to keep an eye on. Plus, I have a small frame, is what he told me. And so it's worth keeping an eye on it for a few years and seeing if it's growing at all. And then we can take a break and back off if it's not. Just mitigating the risk factors, especially high blood pressure, really, really is important. So
right.
Cindy, we're finally going to get to
Yes,
you, and you're on your treadmill like I am. Where are
I
you
am.
at? I'm
I
ready. I'm
am.
like, woo,
I'm
I'm
in
sweating.
middle central New York State. I'm on about an hour and a half, and yeah, this is the second time around for me today. So
No.
I'm getting tired now. But you know what? It's so funny how things happen, isn't it? Because I hesitated coming on because I was going to be late. And then I did. And the conversation is just where I needed to hear because I have my GP appointment next week, and I really need to advocate for myself. You know, when I'm home alone thinking, I have, all of these great things I'm going to say and I'm going to do with these doctors. And I get there and I become a puddle of mud and I just listen to what they're saying. And then I walk out and I'm like, I got no answers, no recourse, no direction. So I've got to go in next week and I've got to really stick to my guns here and say how I'm feeling. And if I'm walking away without answers, I need to then know in my heart, I need to find different doctors because this just isn't working for me. Yeah, it's just really frustrating.
Do you write
I
the
just,
questions down, Cindy? Do you write them down
but
on a piece of paper?
no, but you know what? I will. I will because
That
I will
works.
go.
Absolutely works.
Yeah, because I will go in there and stutter and fumble and, not be able to
Yeah,
speak
no,
the things that I want to say.
if you write it on a piece of paper, you get the piece of paper out. They don't know if it's your lawyer's telephone number you're getting out. They don't know.
True,
And they're very sensitive about things like that. And so you get
true.
out and ask the questions because you forget. It's like a mind goes blank, we all turn into Carl.
Yeah, yeah. No, not Carl. I relate to Carl so much. Are you kidding?
Me too.
Poor
I can't
Carl.
remember anything. I'm even my
Marilyn
name half
too.
the time. But yeah, so it's just such a blessing to be able to be here with all of you and to listen to your experience and learn. I'm gonna cry because not 4 months ago I was almost bedridden because I was just waiting, and I was probably over a year at that point into a bypass on my left leg. And I was waiting to get better, laying in bed, waiting to get better. And I don't know why I'm on
Douglas
Facebook
is confident.
doom scrolling. And you came up and I'm like, oh, let me see what these people are doing and what's happening. And 3 weeks later, my treadmill came in the mail. And yeah, so this is all very new to me, this pull part of it. I've always been vegetarian, mainly vegan, but I've mixed up how I'm eating so that I'm eating proper portions and getting proper nutrients. Yeah, so this is kind of crazy for me.
So a few weeks ago, you were bedridden, you had pain in your legs and it was
Oh,
debilitating, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're walking now. 2
Oh,
sets of 90 minutes?
I have stuck with what you people have said about walk, 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 and I've worked through the pain, which I have basically, knock on wood, no pain anymore. Which is incredible because I don't know anything but that for the last 4 years anyway. I've had about 13 procedures done on my left leg. Yeah, stuff that kept failing and kept occluding, and stents that kept occluding, and finally the last straw they told me was the bypass, and no knowledge, and I'm alone and very fearful, and I just listen to what they tell me to do. And I didn't know that there was any options or anything different than what I was doing, right? Yeah, so it's very emotional, but I'm happy to be here.
I
Cindy, you're
wish
doing
Marina
amazing.
stayed on.
That's-
Yeah, Mike, go ahead. I was just saying that Marina, I wish Marina was here. Kevin, this sounds like Marina's story. This is exactly what Marina said. She went straight to procedures, never talked about walking, and they had her set up for a bypass until she found us, and she found out, well, wait a minute. Let me ask them about a supervised exercise therapy program. And lo and behold, they got her into it. So
I
I'm
just
just so proud of you doing this.
it's really kind of crazy because in the beginning of the walking, I had a vascular appointment for my checkup, and I was telling them, you know, what I was doing and yada yada yada, and she just said, she goes, well, you have 100% blood flow to your toes. She goes, so whatever you're doing, you are doing it right. And I said, and I went on to talk about you guys and learning and da da da. And then I got blown off. And then it was like, yeah, well, then you have a good day. I'll see you in 6 months. I went, okay, so I shouldn't be to these people. You know, something's very wrong about this practice, but I'm going to take what it is right now and just kind of go with it. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, crazy, right?
Well, Mike, tell her about your experience. You were in the same boat. You were, um, frozen in fear, also in pain, and tell her what you did because you also had a similar experience. You hadn't had any procedures, but you went from 0 to hero.
Oh yeah, I mean, once I was diagnosed last year, because knowing a little bit about it anyway, with my mum being a below knee amputee, she had a failed bypass, so I kind of knew a little bit about it, and I just went into depression. I didn't want to get off the couch. I was and then I found, like yourself, I found this group. I Googled it. Well, not Googled. I went on Facebook and started looking for P.A.D. groups. Found Kim. Reading through so many different stories of people that what they were doing to make themselves better themselves. I ordered a treadmill like yourself. I went and I got a treadmill off Marketplace. I was up every morning. I mean, I am like routinely every single morning now. I do the treadmill without fail. My mornings are just taken up by doing that. But 6 months after diagnosis and my depression, coming out of my depression, I did a 13-kilometer. I did the Terry Fox walk. I don't know if you've heard of Terry Fox in
No.
Canada. He does it. He was an amputated patient who was above knee, and he was trying to walk from one end of Canada to the other, and he only made it halfway before his cancer came back and he passed away. So they do a walk every year in Canada to carry on the charity for Terry Fox. And I did the Confederation Bridge from New Brunswick to Prince Edward Island, 13 kilometers straight over, no stopping. And I do my line dancing now. I walk, like I say, I mean, it's evening time now in England, but I was out this morning. I did my walk and run on the treadmill. I walked down to the barbers. I've done 23,000 steps today. Yeah, and even I had a friend came around last night. I've not seen her for a while, and I was telling her all about the P.A.D. group and Kim's inspiration, and telling her about collaterals and how you
I
can
had no
walk through the
idea
pain.
that even existed. No,
Yeah,
nobody had even mentioned that word to me. I was so angry when I learned that from all of you. It wasn't crazy. I was just so angry.
yeah, and my friend, after telling her that I've changed my diet, I don't eat any deep fried food, I don't smoke. I've changed my whole life. I do all this exercise. I do weights and push-ups and stuff like that. And she put her hand on my head and she was like, "Is this the same person that I knew from years ago?" And I was
Right.
like, "Yeah, I'm still the same person. I'm just a different lifestyle now." So
This
Yeah.
conversation gives me an idea for therapy.
What's that, Kevin? Sorry.
Everybody should give their couch to the dog.
Right?
Yeah.
You need a dog and you don't need a couch. I don't have a couch. I don't know what I do. I sit in a chair. Or I have to sit, I'm gonna sit on the bed, but I've got to sit with the dogs. If I'm not with the dogs, they don't like that. Yeah, dogs are good. Couches are okay, but they can steal your life away. They really can.
It's a great way to
And
put it.
Cindy, there's just a quick thing. If there's a girl called VJ on the group who does mountain climbing. I don't know whether you've seen her story. If you get a chance to read through some of her posts, she is so inspirational, and she's from England. And I'm planning on meeting her in a couple of weeks. She wants to take me up a mountain and take me on a
Awesome.
mountain climb. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
So cool. And Kevin, Kevin's, sitting there and he's in the hospital and getting ready for cardiac surgery, open heart. Kevin, you wouldn't be here today if it weren't for the work that you put in. I mean, you're sitting here at 82 years old, a competitor at the world level and a half Ironman. Is it triathlon? Is that what they call it? I mean, that's absolutely so inspiring. Um, he talked, I don't know if you missed it, Cindy, but in the beginning, he was talking about going in for a heart cath yesterday and the doctor going, holy cow, your right coronary artery is just done, but your entire right side, it's all collateral vessels. And it's comforting, right? To
Yeah.
think that um your body has the ability to build these collateral vessels, right, Kevin? I mean, they're natural, they're little lifesavers. Your collaterals are your little leg savers and your little lifesavers, and it's all in a life's work to be building them.
It's incredible. It really is.
Well, just remember
Kevin,
my right heart is entirely run by collaterals. I had no idea of that
Wow.
at all. No sense of it.
How-
It's amazing what bodies can do if you treat them with respect. Just watch great athletes,
Kevin, I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the programming here, but what led you to go to the
Yeah.
hospital? Were you having chest pain? Were you having chest pain?
Oh,
I think it's worth reiterating. Yeah. For others, if they're just joining in to learn.
okay. Well, should I go back to the beginning?
Well,
I
we can do the
I just
short
think it's
version.
such
I
an
don't want to
important
bore
story.
everybody.
Okay, I won't go back.
No,
to
I
the
think
big-
it's an
I won't go
important
back
thing
to
to
the Big
repeat.
Bang. I won't go back to the creation of farming. No, about 3 months ago, I noticed. I just noticed first time that Sue said she noticed before. I didn't have the cardiovascular strength I was used to on a bike ride up a hill, and I was dropped by somebody who could never drop me. That was first sign, and then I pain in my jaw when I swam, and that it can be a sign of cardiovascular distress. But it's also can be a sign of clenching your jaws or having a tooth problem. It turned out I also had a tooth problem at the same damn time, which cost me a month, and eventually the tooth was removed. But the jaw pain never went away, and then I started noticing, a little bit of tightness in my chest sometimes if I worked out. And on a treadmill, one time I could only go 11 minutes had to get off. Went to see my PCP. She immediately ran an EKG. That was last Thursday. She said, you need to go see a cardiologist. She referred me to a cardiologist. She said would call me within 2 days. I actually waited 4 days, but was also interrupted by a snowstorm and everything closing down. And then I actually, on the Monday afternoon, I went out to my car just to get something 50 feet away. And as I turned, it was like somebody stood on my chest. I mean, I'd had a little bit of discomfort and stuff, but it was like someone stood on my chest. I'm like, whoa, whoa. I knew exactly what it was then. It was a minor heart attack. So I waited until everything was calm, and I walked slowly to the front of the house. I called a friend of mine. She picked me up and took me straight to the ER. And then she came back and looked after my animals and everything. I mean, a friend I've known for years, because I have a network of people, like 4 or 5 people are helping me now. And now there's Marina I can add to the list. Anyway, so I go into the ER. With symptoms, they immediately start working it out. And they put me through the cath lab. They've run, they check for any risk of aortic dissection with contrast CT. And then finally, you know, in the cath lab indicated they couldn't stent me, and now I'm having cardiac bypass on Monday.
Oh
So that's what
my,
happened.
I'm sorry. Sorry that happened to you.
Oh, no, it's okay. I expected it. It's not a surprise. And it's actually kind of interesting, actually. And it's be another thing I can help people with, because now I'm in the I will be in the zipper club if they zip me up right.
Oh, God.
I love the way you
Always,
think about it, though. You're always looking to help people with every experience that you have, always looking to help people.
thank you,
And
Kevin,
look,
for this. For telling
Mike's
that.
mom, I think, is here. I think Mike brought I think he's
This is
able to
my
see his mom.
inspiration.
And she's walking around. Look. Oh my goodness, you
Hi,
have your
Kim.
prosthetic on. Hi, you have your prosthetic on. You're on your feet. You're on your foot
Oh,
and your
yeah,
prosthetic.
always. Yeah. First thing in the morning, it's on, goes off when I go to bed.
We all like your son. He's great.
We do.
Thanks,
He's a
Kevin.
little,
He's
little
good.
bit too. He's a little bit too emotional for my taste, but then I'm Mr. Spock. So what do you expect?
Yeah, I know that, Kevin, anyway.
No, I get up and have a shower, put my leg on. It's on all day till I go to bed.
Driving around taking my sister everywhere.
Yeah, walk around back and forwards to the shops, and yeah,
She doesn't
I
use a
love
stick
that it's
either
not stuck.
sometimes.
I don't use the stick in the house at all.
So
Yeah,
Good
I
for
only
you.
use the stick if I go out to the shops, because the paving isn't good out here.
So where are you located?
I'm
Where
in
are
the
you?
UK. I'm in UK.
Yeah, where?
Winslow, Manchester
Oh,
area.
okay, yeah, I'm from Bristol.
All right, yeah, Winslow, Cheshire.
Oh, oh, Cheshire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went up there for the foot and mouth outbreak in 60. When was that? 67, I think, in Chester.
Yeah.
I had to kill a lot of cattle. That was pretty.
Yeah,
That was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned about how to burn 100 head of cows, how to make a
Wow.
bonfire, how to dig a big hole. Yeah, that was an interesting time in my life as a young vet. I got to shoot my first 4 cows. That was terrible. I'll never forget that. The foot and mouth is controlled in England by slaughter, because there's much more loss from the vaccine than from slaughter, because they're on an island. So if any foot and mouth turns up, the whole veterinary community charges in and kills all the. Well, I was called in. I arrived there. I've been a vet 6 months, and I was sent by my practice boss. He said somebody's got to go and work with the ministry and up in Cheshire. So I went up there. Within 20 minutes, they put me on diagnosis. My diagnosis of foot and mouth consisted of 2 pictures in my head from Jubb and Kennedy's Pathology of Domestic Animals. I get to this farm. There's a cop waiting for me. He tips Chris out on my boots and stuff, and he hands me a packet. In that packet is a captive bolt gun. I'd never handled, or I'd never really seen a gun in my life. I knew nothing about guns. So I had to shoot 4 cows, and I did that. They had classic symptoms, you know, ulcers on the tongues, between the feet, classic foot and mouth. And then I had to call in a kill team. The farmer had been building this herd for years, and he was the nicest man. Anyway, that got me introduced to foot and mouth.
I
But
went
those-
Oh
out.
my gosh, that is so
I went
sad.
out with a young gentleman who was working for a butcher's, and he took me out one day. He said, "Oh yeah, you can come with me on my round." And we went to Frankham's slaughterhouse, and he said, "Sit in the van," but I got a bit nosy and went out to see what they were doing, and I watched them shooting a couple of cows, and I never went back. I never went back.
You guys are grossing me out.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Marilyn.
And you
don't
wonder
eat-
why
I don't
he's
eat
a
meat
vegan.
anymore. I just don't. We don't really need to eat the amount of meat people do, but that isn't what the topic of this thing. So I won't get political. I know.
Nice to see you,
Kim is
Kim.
sad.
And
Good
the
to
rest
see you
of the-
too. I hope you're going to be hiking up the mountain with your son.
Yeah, hiking up the
We're
mountains with me.
requiring video.
I like Cindy's story today. Really did.
I love it.
I'm not that
Well,
big
we're
and
going to wish
stupid.
you the best, Kevin. You know, we're going to wrap up here. We're hoping maybe you'll be here, you know, join us next week, but we want at least a very good date. You're having the surgery Monday, but you know what? We're happy to do a live every day. Good to have you on, keep you company. Have a good time. I know how much you
No.
love social
Let's
interaction.
finish social life. I can't handle it.
Well, good luck, Kevin. But how am I gonna, bother you? If you're not, geez, if you can't come to these podcasts for a while, it's going to be hard on me. I can't tease you.
Well, there's only a 2% chance of being dead, and I'm pretty fit compared to the average
I
person.
know.
So I think the risk is fine. I think the risk is more dangerous walking across the road or getting married.
No, I didn't mean you wouldn't come back. I mean, it could be a week or two before you feel like coming back. That's what I meant. Okay.
It's not-
Anyway, good luck, Kevin.
Oh, I
Thanks so
am. I'm just
much.
on a
Well, we're
podcast.
gonna.
Come on in.
It's okay.
Yes,
Oh,
okay.
Kevin's bringing
We're
in
just
his
finishing up.
nurses. Yep.
Actually, yeah.
It's so nice of you to join us in the hospital.
Elena's a French friend of mine I've known for years.
Oh, okay. Oh, fantastic. I'm glad you have visitors too. After a full hour and a half of social interaction here, you get you're getting more socialized. We're building up that stamina, Kevin.
Okay, Elena,
The
it's time to
social
go.
stamina. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. We're wishing Kevin the best. Everyone in comments, if you can make sure to share how many steps you're taking for Kevin, because he's not taking that many right now. And he always takes steps for you. So take some steps for him. Put how many steps you took today in comments. We're going to give steps to Kevin over the next few days. So make sure you do that. Don't forget, like the video, subscribe to our channels, youtube.com/the @ the way to my heart, and youtube.com/the @ fit old dog. Thanks everyone for joining us. And don't forget to go to inspirationalselfhelpbooks.com and sign up for Kevin's newsletter.
And don't forget to thank Josh, who holds this whole thing together.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Josh.
everybody.